Hello, this is John from TC Math Academy. And in this particular problem, we're going to be talking about percent and algebra. So hopefully you have the skills to solve this problem, but what's going to make this like extra interesting is you're going to put your calculator away. So some of you might be panicked. You might be, what are you talking about, Mr. YouTube Math Man? I don't do any math without my calculator. Well, listen, you can handle this problem. We need to get away from technology. I mean, technology is awesome. I do love technology. If it wasn't for technology, I wouldn't be able to deliver these videos to you. So obviously, you need to know how to use a calculator, but you need to put that calculator away from time to time so you can practice arithmetic. Okay, it's really, really important that you keep up on those good old skills that you learned in elementary and middle school. And for those of you that are, let's say, in high school or college level mathematics, I can assure you that your math teacher will have you take exams without a calculator being allowed. So this is a, not that difficult of a problem. Of course, you need to know what you're doing. But if you can figure this out, go ahead and put your answer into the comments section. I'm going to show you the correct answer in just 1 second. But the question is what? We have 4x plus 3. This expression is 10% of 30. What is x? So I am going to show you the correct answer in just one moment and then, of course, fully explain this problem. Also, if you need math help with the course you're taking, test prep or homeschooling, make sure to check out my math help program at tcmathacademy.com. You can find a link to that in the description below. And if this video is exciting and helps you out, don't forget to like and subscribe, as that definitely helps me out. Now, before I show you the answer, if some of you are like, well, I could do this with my calculator. Well, if you absolutely feel like you need your calculator, well, go ahead and use that as well, as long as you give this problem a shot. But let's go ahead and take a look at the correct answer. What is x equal to, given this algebraic expression? 4x plus 3 is 10% of 30. X is equal to what? Well, here is the answer. X is equal to 0. Now, that might kind of surprise some of you. You're like, whoa, this is a big old problem. And you're saying that x is equal to 0. How can that be? Well, I'll show you this in just 1 second. But for those of you who got this right, let's go ahead and give you a nice little happy face, an A plus, a 100%, and a few stars so you can celebrate your success with percent and algebra. Now, before I get into the solution, when it comes to percent, all right, there's probably nothing more important from a practical math standpoint than your ability to understand percent. This symbol is everywhere in our life, whether you're talking about, discounts. You go to the store, like, oh, this is on sale. We're talking about this symbol right here, right? If you're looking for sales or discounts or credit card interest rates, mortgage rates, inflation, I mean, this symbol is just dominant everywhere in our daily life. So when it comes to math, as a math teacher, I've been teaching for decades, one of the things that a lot of students say is like, hey, when am I ever going to use this stuff? I don't need to know this stuff. Well, yes, for some things I would agree, right? You're not going to have to be able to do calculus on a daily basis. But when it comes to percent problems, the more you know, the better off you're going to be in your everyday life. Okay, so you want to learn percent, but I want to just make this one point. Some of you out there were taught percent in different ways, okay? And each of those ways is perfectly fine as long as you're able to answer percent questions without guessing, okay? Now, if you are still struggling with percent, I'm going to strongly suggest you check out like my Math Foundations course or my Pre-Algebra course, because I personally believe that I teach percent in the kind of clearest manner, but there are times where you're going to need to know algebra to solve percent questions. And this is a circumstance where I'm going to go ahead and recommend that you brush up on your algebra skills. So sorry for the kind of long introduction here, but I want to make sure that those of you out there that learned percent, when you see me do this problem, you're like, oh, I wasn't taught percent that way. That's perfectly fine as long as you understand what you're doing, you're not guessing, and you're able to solve the problem. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this. The easiest approach to solve this problem is to translate what's going on. Okay, this is an absolute, critical algebra skill, is to translate a sentence, okay, into an equation. All right, so let's go ahead and read this. So it says 4x plus 3. Well, that's the same thing as 4x plus 3 is. Now, anytime you see the word is in mathematics, it means is equal to. It's the equal sign, okay? So 4x plus 3 is or is equal to 10% of 30. Now here, 10% of 30 means what? Well, to find a percent of a number, hopefully you know what we need to do is to change the percent into a decimal. Okay, in this case, 10% is going to be 0.10, and then you multiply by that number. So 10% of 30 is going to be equal to 0.10 times 30. Now, for those of you that are like, oh boy, I'm a little bit rusty on this, well, that's perfectly fine. Okay, you should never feel bad about not understanding something, but you want to make yourself a little list. You're like, I got to review percent. I got to, review this concept or this concept. This would be kind of like your shopping list to go improve your skills. So when you don't understand something, write something down and then kind of review it. Now, for those of you that really need some basic introduction to percent, I have a ton of videos on my YouTube channel, and of course, teach percent in those courses that I said, my Math Foundations and my Pre-Algebra course. Okay, so hopefully most of you out there are like, okay, yes, 10% of 30 is 0.10 times 30, but at this point, a lot of you are saying, well, listen, I need my calculator to figure this out. Well, not so fast, right? So 0.10 means what? Well, 0.10 is the same thing as 1/10. Okay, so the 1 is in the tenths place value. So 0.1 or 0.10 is equivalent to the fraction 1/10. Okay, so I'm going to change this decimal to a fraction, so that's going to be 1/10 times 30. So what's 1/10 times 30? It's not that difficult. Remember how we multiply fractions? Matter of fact, let's go down here. And this is another area that hopefully you're up to speed on. So 1/10 times 30 or 30 over 1. When you're multiplying fractions, you multiply the respective numerators and denominators. So 1 times 30 is 30. And then 10 times 1, of course, is 10. 30 divided by 10 would be 3. So that is our answer. 1/10 times 30 is 3. Not that difficult. So if you need to brush up on fractions as well, we're talking about real critical basic math skills here. I teach this also in my pre-algebra course. All right. So at this point, we have 10% of 30, which is 0.10 times 30, which is the same thing as 1/10 times 30, which is, of course, the same thing as 3. So now we're left with this equation, 4x plus 3 is equal to 3. So let's go ahead and solve this equation. So what we need to do is subtract 3 from both sides. And when we do this, we end up with the equation 4x is equal to 0. Okay, and then when I divide both sides of the equation by 4, you get 0 divided by 4, or x is equal to 0. Now let's see if this makes sense. Okay, so we know that 10% of 30 is, we got the answer, right? 10% of 30 is 3. Okay, so this 4x plus 3 is equal to 10% of 30, which of course turns out to be 3. So 4x plus 3, well, I know I have to get a 3 on this side because 3 has to be equal to 3 for this equation to be true. And the only way that can be true, I have a 3 here, so I don't need this stuff. So we have to make x 0. So 0 times 4 kind of wipes all that away. And we're just left with 3 is equal to 3. So hopefully that makes sense to you. And the reason why I kind of bring this up is because sometimes we get solutions in mathematics where like, that doesn't make sense to me. Although I feel like I did the problem correct, it doesn't make sense to me. And that's a good intuition to have. So it's good to kind of take your answer and try to reality check it. Be like, okay, let me see if it doesn't make sense to me. Should always question things that don't make sense to you. But oftentimes we do get solutions to math problems that are kind of surprising. Okay, so hopefully this gives you confidence. If you didn't think that this problem was going to be, or going to be extra difficult without the aid of calculator, and if you're like, oh, this wasn't that bad. Yes, indeed. Oftentimes, when you're told to do a math problem, okay, whether on a quiz, test, doesn't make a difference. If your teacher's saying, hey, do a math problem without the aid of a calculator, it's going to be something that you can handle, okay? They're not going to make you do like crazy long division, like 37 into 90 3, 1. So, you're not going to have to, hopefully have to do anything, arduous. Your teacher's not interested in your ability to do long division, not at this level of mathematics. So, again, when you are asked to do a problem without the aid of a calculator, just kind of go into it saying, all right, if I just take it one step at a time, I'll be able to figure this thing out. Okay, so with that being said, I definitely wish you all the best in your mathematics adventures. Thank you for your time and have a great day.